I think we have to start at St. James Park, the place that Alan Shearer used to frequent as a young boy and then later as a footballer. All right, I'm going to come right up, give you my reading. So much criticism of Mikel Arteta after the Manchester City game.
Yeah.
He comes out and he says, I don't read the press. Somebody reads it for me and tells me. I'm surprised people say that, we weren't attacking enough because we dominated, we controlled the game, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of us were kind of like, yeah, you don't really believe that, do you? And I'm going to conclude that he did not really believe that because he made the changes and we saw an Arsenal that were, I thought, bang, bang.
Yeah.
Could have
easily
scored 3 goals in the first half, if not for Saint Nick Pope.
Yeah.
I just thought this was one of Arsenal's best performances in a long, long time.
Yeah, I agree. They were on the front foot in a place where it's difficult to go to, as we know, the intensity and the physicality of Newcastle, the atmosphere at St. James's Park. Until the goal from Voltemade against the run of play on a set piece where Gabriel is, I think, very naive and soft. But before that, it's all Arsenal playing quick forwards, keeping the ball really well, beating the press, just like cooling everything down. That was really good. And then after that, you're thinking, okay, now they're goal down. Let's see the character.
Now, there was no Nani Madueke. Obviously, he was unavailable. It obviously helps to have Bukayo Saka. Maybe he's not at 100%, but even Bukayo Saka at 80% is still better than most people out there. A lot of the narrative is, oh, look, you put Eze in there, and that changes everything. Why didn't you do this sooner? That's a bit simplistic, yeah?
Yeah, it is. And Odegaard was not fit to start. He only came on late in the game to good effect as well. I thought he had a decent impact, like all the subs. We'll talk about that a bit later. And this is probably not even Eze's position, who is more used to play a little bit more on the left-hand side and that half space on the left more than a little bit more on the right like he did yesterday. Although he had freedom to go anywhere, he was a bit more central, certainly, and could dictate the play. After the first half hour, though, his influence on the game kind of decreased a little bit. And after that, it was a bit more difficult. In the second half, he lost a few balls. But he's such a good player on the ball, especially against a high-pressing team or high-intensity team as well, that your team will always benefit to have somebody like him in your team.
All right. Obviously, a number of incidents. Fair to say, Gabriel, for better and for worse, was at the center of this match. We're going to break them down further, but just to state the record here, you mentioned the incident with Voltemade. Immediately after the restart, it certainly looked to me like he could have even gotten himself sent off at that point.
It was a red. I thought a yellow could have been given, but I don't think it was a red.
But you never know with referees, yeah? You simply don't know. And you should not put yourself in that position if you're going to be a defensive leader like that. And then I want to give a little bit of praise to referees. And we'll get to the Gyökeres incident, which so angered Arteta. I really thought at that point, I'm like, oh my God, you're obviously so upset about this. You haven't seen the replay, whatever we think of the replay. And I lean more towards Arteta's side on the replay. But it looked to me like his head was going to explode and he was going to do something stupid. But the Elanga one, I thought this is good use. And we can like the rule, we cannot like the rule, but we have to be consistent. Elanga puts in a cross as Gabriel comes to tackle him. Gabriel's arm is way up in the air, but the ball strikes his arm after it strikes Elanga. This is what they've decided that the interpretation is going to be.
Yeah. And
they applied them. I'm not sure Jared saw it clearly.
It was too quick, I think.
It was way too quick. You don't expect him to. But this is what VAR is there for.
Perfect use.
And I think as long as they're consistent, that makes all the difference. On Newcastle's end, I can't help but feel that this team is undermanned. It's not just the Isak-shaped hole. Voltemade may be a cult hero. He scored the great header. Voldemort looks different, let's face it. But I think it's going to be hard for them to keep the level they were at last year.
Yeah. There's a lot of work to come. I mean, they've only won one game now in 6 league matches. They were not very good on Sunday, let's be honest. I know it's a matter of minutes for them to win the game or even draw the game, but they were not good at home.
All right, we'll get to Gyökeres in a second, but I got to go back to Gabriel Voltemade on this. I think sometimes decisions in football and situations in football are complicated, and you can read them every which way. For me, there is no question whatsoever that Voltemade reaches out with two hands, pushes Gabriel, and that gives him an advantage in heading the ball. So you can say the goal should be disallowed. Equally, I think if Gabriel doesn't throw himself to the ground so theatrically, because there's no question he could have stood up, right? If he didn't throw himself to the ground, he just gets pushed and Voltemata still gets the header off. This is one of those situations where we either, have sort of forensic VAR intervention on every push and pull in the box, or we don't. I think it's a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think they probably have checked this very quickly, and they didn't need much time to check anyway because it was too soft. There was not enough there, I think, to cancel the goal. I'm not really sure exactly what Gabriel is doing. If you just think that referees are giving that all the time now in this kind of position, so he goes for it, because really he's in a good position unless he knows he's going to miss the ball and he misread the trajectory of the cross from Tonali, and he knows that already. So when he feels the push, he thinks this is my way out because I'm going to miss this. I'm going to miss the ball.
I wouldn't blame him so much because they mark zonally. It looks to me like Voltemata makes like a hooking run, and it looked to me like he's passing Voltemata off to somebody else to keep his position.
I think he's keeping the line. When he raises his arm, I know you saw how much of the day. I think he's keeping the line straight. There's no... I think that's his ball to clear, no one else's. This is his ball to clear. He knows Voltemata is behind him. He feels the push on him anyway. This is his ball to clear. And I think he knows he probably misses that ball, and then Voltemata has the header.
Because he doesn't have the right position on Voltemata. But he can't see where Voltemata is because he's looking.
He misreads. No, but he feels him. He just pushed him.
No. But what I'm saying is...
he misreads the trajectory of the cross.
But Voltemata runs kind of behind him and then runs back towards him. At the moment in which he feels him, I mean, I suppose if he felt it was his cross to take, then he probably should have, forget Voltemata, he should have taken a step or two back in Voltemata's direction.
That's what I'm saying. He misreads the cross. So he misreads the trajectory of the ball. This is his ball to clear, 100%. I think he misreads it, and I think he probably thinks that little push might be a way out for me, and the ref will give a foul, and this is not a goal because he should clear that ball.
This business with with him and Voltemata, and afterwards, you said maybe a yellow would have sufficed and stuff like that.
Yeah, it felt to me like a yellow.
It's not what you want to see if you're a coach.
Not. Do you remember Havertz and Rodri in the game at the Etihad between City and Arsenal maybe 2 years ago when it was really, really tense, straight from kickoff? That's the same that happened where you kind of block the runner to let the ball go for your player to kick it. It was a bit like that. It's inevitable at some point that it's risky. If you do that, if you try to block somebody by raising your hand like Gabriel does, and Voltemata is so tall that for somebody else it would be in the chest. For him, depending on where you aim, but it could be the neck, it could be the face, I think it's really risky.
Onto the Pope Gyökeres one. Now, this is where I have a little bit of sympathy towards the people who don't like VAR. Because you're right. I did watch Match of the Day. And I did hear, and obviously they had the former City goalkeeper, Joe Hart, who gave an explanation. An extremely long, really long explanation.
Very brief.
And clearly, as you said,
PGMOL-esque.
Yes. So PGMOL, our friend Howard Webb, when there are decisions, for those who don't know, they go and they brief, which means it's not official. They can't be quoted, but they talk to broadcasters and say, this is why the referee made this decision.
Yeah. I had a call from Howard.
Well,
one day.
This is what bugs me a little bit. Why don't they just come out and say it? Well, the reason they don't just come out and say it is probably lawyers, my favorite people in the world. So they don't want the legal responsibility, but they go and they give you an explanation. And look, I get their point of view. I think it's right, so people know. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to try to explain this more briefly than Joe Hart did, right? So we see Gyökeres going through. We see Nick Pope run into him. When they looked at the replay, they saw that Pope got to the ball first. He doesn't get the ball first, but he does get to the ball with his foot.
Yeah.
I have to say, I watched the replay a lot of times. Yeah. It's not clear to me at all that this is actually what happened, but I trust them. They have better eyesight than I do, clearly. Yeah. Certainly not obvious either way. But the other thing is then you say, okay, fine, but just because you get to the ball doesn't mean you can't just go through somebody, even if it's a big boy like Gyökeres.
Yeah.
But apparently, as I discovered, unlike, say, Robert Sanchez the week before, Pope kind of plants himself and holds his position. Now, It's not that Pope is moving that fast because he's a big man and whatever else. He can only move so fast. But the whole action is very, very quick.
Yeah.
And I kind of have a problem with the fact that if somebody's sprinting in my direction and I just step into his way, that's not necessarily a foul. Like, I'm not setting a pick in basketball here.
Yeah.
That's not, it's a different sport.
Yeah.
It seemed like they were slightly grasping at things in the air.
Yeah, it felt a bit far-fetched to me.
And that's why Arteta was angry.
Yeah, and also because I think it was given. So again, to overturn the referee decision, and again, he goes really fast. He doesn't have the monitor. He can go and look at the replay and speak to his VAR people. I get that. But it was still given. And to overturn it, it has to be the famous...
clear and obvious?
Clear and obvious, which... Again, I don't think it is clear and obvious that it's a mistake from the referee to have awarded that penalty in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have a lot of time for Jared. I think he gets more stick than he should when he does. I think he is one of the better referees in the Premier League. I think this is very, very difficult, but equally, if the VAR tells him, like, Jared, there's a touch, and his foot is planted.
Yeah.
What's he going to do? Sit there forensically and, Yeah. But again, football's a complicated game. Like, there's 22 men, there's a round ball, it bounces every which way, stuff happens. I want to have a word on Leandro Trossard, because I remember he had a year left on his contract. I think he's extended it at this stage. I felt he kind of like got totally lost in the shuffle and was underappreciated, at least as far as the media, right? There's talk about, Martinelli's had a rough season. Can he get him back? And then here comes Madueke, an alternative to Martinelli. Here comes Eze. And I'm like, what about little Leandro? What's going to happen to him? And I think actually he gives you so much in terms of technical ability. He gives you so much in terms of game intelligence. He's just different from the other people that you have. And I'm happy that he started last couple of the games.
Yeah,
it's not going to continue, is it?
No. I think he will play. He will end the season with probably around 40 appearances. Maybe only half of that will be starting between all the competitions. but you need players like that in your squad to win trophies. It's just as simple as that. And you need people like Madueke, you need people like Merino, who again had a good cameo coming off the bench, in a kind of a hybrid position, a bit of a forward, a bit of a midfielder, that kind of thing. When Arsenal went to a back three, you need people like that. And they're maybe not the most gifted of your squads. They're not the most important. They're probably not the most expensive, even in wages. But they are very important. And really, this is what this team is doing as well. Arsenal have won 13 points out of 18, right? In the first 6 games of the season. Having played away at United, okay, it's only United, but still. Away at Liverpool, away at Newcastle, at home to Manchester City. While still trying to integrate new players. While still trying to change a little bit the way they play and suddenly bring variation.
Having Saka and Odegaard injured, which you haven't mentioned.
Injuries, absolutely.
Those are for me literally your two best players, along with Saliba, who also was injured. So let's put that into some kind of context.
And so it's a very good start of the season. And when you have people like Martinelli and Trossard and Merino who can also come off the bench and help, I think is brilliant.
All right, Merino's header. You played to a far higher level than I did, although I'm imagining, I could be totally wrong, heading was probably not your strong suit.
No, it wasn't. I was a crosser of the ball.
My guess is people made it seem, look, he places it perfectly. My impression is he directs it as best he can, but he can't know where the ball is heading because he's not looking that way. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
he has a general sense.
He knows where the goal is and where the ball is coming from, and he knows exactly that's probably where Nick Pope can't go. But it's a header, I think, that he can try another 9 times and doesn't score it.
Exactly.
But he's one of the best headers of the ball, like header player of the ball in Europe right now. He's outstanding. The timing, some of the technique, it's just excellent.
Actually, I'm curious if we were to rank Arsenal's headers of the ball. I'm going to put Kai Havertz as number 1 for obvious reasons, even though he's now injured and probably can't jump. But would you have him ahead of Gabriel or Gyökeres?
Yeah. I think Gabriel and Gyökeres, and to a certain extent, maybe Saliba, who's not as good in the air still, is like sheer power. I think with Merino and a little bit Julian Timber, they have the timing, and Merino has the size. He's a big boy, but still, it's the technique and the timing for me that is very different to Gabriel's skill set in terms of heading the ball. I think Merino is a much better header of the ball than Gabriel for that.
Ordinarily, people would look at this and say, pull out the old stat about how many goals Arsenal scored on corners and set pieces, and Nicholas, whatever his name is, the little guy.
My boy.
Okay. Now, if we give this, we have to take this away.
Yeah.
He's responsible for defensive set pieces too, right?
Yeah.
So that's on him. If we're going to give him credit for the two goals,
absolutely.
the Voltemade run and whatever happened, that's on him.
Yeah.
Now, somebody might look at this and be like, and sniff about Arsenal and set pieces. But for me, what was most encouraging here is, unlike the City game, forget the set pieces. They should have scored tons without the set pieces because they were moving the ball very effectively. City's midfield, which at times I thought was maybe one of the best in Europe last season, in Bruno, Tonali, and Joelinton. And I know there's been injuries and stuff. They're maybe not fully fit. They're nowhere near where they were.
Yeah,
they passed circles around them.
Yeah. I mean, it was difficult for Newcastle on Sunday for that midfield, which is the key for this team to do well and succeed. They could not really cope with the movement and the passing of Arsenal, Eze's positioning, Rice and Zubimendi's positioning. I was disappointed with Newcastle's performance overall, especially in the sense that, I mean, after the goal comes against the run of play, we said. But after that, they just go back to this like 4-5-1, sometimes even 5-4-1 formation. And I'm like, really? Is that you are home and you're winning 1-0 against a good Arsenal team who started the game in the best way, but still a team that you could probably go out a bit more. And yet, apart from the cross from Gordon to Voltemade at the start of the second half, you know that Voltemade doesn't read it properly and that just rolls in front of the goal. That's all they had. They just didn't create anything. They just stopped playing. And I found that really strange from them. And maybe they just can't. Maybe they're still learning to play with Voltemade. People are not maybe fully fit. Defensively, they've been really good until now, but creatively, they've struggled massively. And I think I expect more from Gordon. I was surprised he came off after an hour, for example.
Yeah, that's what surprised me a little bit because I get playing on the counter. And obviously, then they sent Alanga on and whatever because Gordon is a tremendous counterattacker, and you can see that either he goes through on goal or he wins a free kick, and then you've got Voltemade and you've got the big boys at the back come up. But yeah, I don't. Again, unless he had a knock, I would not take Gordon off in a game.
He's been suspended for 3 games in the league as well. He hasn't played in the league. I know he played in the Champions League, but hasn't played in the league for 3 games. I don't know, and I know they've got Champions League coming, and this is going to be a problem for Newcastle as well. To play in the 2 competitions every 3 days is going to be tricky. But I was very disappointed by the performance.
Fun Voltemade fact, I believe now he has twice as many headed goals already this season than he managed all of last year at Stuttgart.
That's what I mean. They don't use him like they should so far.
Or could it mean that, or does it mean that actually the Premier League is less physical, less high quality than the Bundesliga and the defenders are like, no, just kidding, Premier League fanboys. Also, can I just leave you with this thought on Zubimendi? So many people are like, Zubimendi, yeah, okay, fine, he can pass, but he just passes the ball sideways and backwards all the time.
That's Robson. That's what Robson says.
What about the little, was it for Timber? The little dink over the top?
Magnificent.
More of this, please, Zubi, because you know what? I think it's actually, he looked around and he says, Odegaard's not here. Rice is not going to hit that ball. Rice brings many other good game and many other qualities to the table. I got to be making things happen. And I think that's another example where I think he took things on board. I don't think he can do that all the time, but he has that in his locker as an option, as another variance. For me, the curious thing is going to be when you have so many options, and this is going to be a theme that you're going to hear me go back to Arteta all season. When you have so many options to choose from, realistically 2 guys for every position, how do you decide what lineup to put, and how do you balance chemistry, which I think is really important, especially if you're trying to develop more of an attacking identity, which he's clearly trying to do, versus the need to keep everybody happy and everybody fit and give out minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's still a strong starting 11. To be fair, I think.
But that strong starting 11 does not include Eze.
No, I think it does.
Okay, so then it doesn't include who? Madueke?
Trossard, Madueke, yeah. Trossard, Madueke, I know in the
Trossard, Madueke, Martinez. So Eze is your right now. You think if you had one game to save the universe,
let's say they play the Champions League final tomorrow
when they play the Demons and Cantona said au revoir.
Yeah.
And he's got to send out that 11.
Yeah, if they play the Champions League final tomorrow,
Eze's,
I guess...
And everybody's fully fit, Eze's not... Eze's in.
Yeah, I think so. 100%.
And Lewis Skelly?
No. Calafiori, I think he's very happy with Calafiori at left back and the way he works. And again, yesterday we saw a little bit more fluidity for somebody who's very much about the system and very much about the structure, which is great. And again, there's a big school of that amongst coaches right now. I think you see a little bit more fluidity, which comes with all these options that you mentioned, Gab, which is great, I think, to have. And again, Arteta was very efficient with his coaching, very efficient with his subs, which was the same against City. Even if some people think he got it wrong at the beginning, I don't think so, because nobody could have thought that City would park the bus like they did so early on. So then you can't change everything after 10 minutes. With hindsight now, it's easy to say he played with a handbrake. I don't agree with that. In this game, he set up because he knew what Newcastle would do. And after that, he had to change because the game went a different way, but he did. And again, this is huge, I think, the way they responded with his coaching, with their character. But I still think there's an idea there of what the strongest 11 is. And there's still a lot of work to do on it, because Eze still needs to find his place properly when Odegaard will play. But I think then they have the perfect depth in the squad to be able to change things around when they want, either before kickoff or during matches.
You said nobody could have thought. You know who could have thought and did think? Pep. And that's why Pep is Pep, and Arteta for now is still Arteta. For now.